today we have new video review, and this time we are going to check a fresh release from Casio. So it's a G-Shock series watch, and as you can see it's the famous Casioak, but this time it comes in upgraded version. And frankly speaking, I was expecting this version for quite a long time because everybody was interested when the solar powered G-Shock Casioak will be out, and now it is finally out. And not only in the plastic version, but also there will be a metal version. But today we will be talking about this, let's say, initial release, which is a bit more accessible because it comes in a plastic case and it comes in 5 colors. So that's what we are going to discuss in this video. But first, let's start with checking the boxing of this watch. So as I say, this watch continues quite successful series of Casioak watches, and frankly speaking, I somehow did not make a proper review of this initial release. As you can see, I have the red colored watch, and you can notice that design stays pretty much the same. The main difference is here in the dial and also in the movement, but the sizing, the overall styling and also the comfort of use is pretty much the same. But still, I would like to discuss this watch in detail because I did not review this one in detail. And first of all, I have to note that Casio touts this model as a men's watch. Nevertheless, I think it's pretty much unisex watch, just like any G-Shock. In case you are able to fit it on your wrist, I mean on the latest wrist, then it should be completely fine. So this model should be available in 5 colors, but frankly speaking, I was quite surprised that 4 out of 5 are quite dull, and they present really monocolor versions, and which are really difficult to read, which are not that prominent for the indices and hands. And the yellow version, which I'm holding now in the hands, this one is even more expensive than other 4. So they decided to pick it out in price-wise, color-wise, and also the dial style. As you can see here, we have a bit more legible style, but we will talk about it later. So the full name of this model is GA-B2100, and the color version will be 9AER. So then you will get this yellow watch with black accessories, as you can see on the opposite side. And now, as promised, we can dive to check the dial with all the details shots as usual. So this octagon case houses the round dial, as you can see, and the case size will be 45.4 millimeters. So I wouldn't say that it's huge size, it's good sizing for the average sized wrist, so definitely try it before you will be getting it, but in my opinion it's a good fit for everyday use. But for the dial here, as I said, only the yellow version will get this highly legible white indices and white hands, as well as this yellow subhand. We also get a small LCD digital display here, and of course we get a lot of writings here. So overall it's easy to read display, and I would say it does what it has to do. But I somehow have a bit more difficulties during the nighttime because we have the luminescent layer applied only on the minutes and seconds hand. And by the way, you can notice that there is no seconds hand because we have the seconds counted on the digital display, so that's something to consider. And another thing is that the whole dial is covered with mineral glass. This is something what is somewhat traditional for G-Shocks, so in case you damage it, it will be easy to scratch and then you have to replace it somehow. The only thing that is good with G-Shocks that it's easy to replace, you just disassemble it and you'll be good to go. You can also notice on the dial this sunray finish. It is due to the solar powered movement inside, so it gets the solar light and charges the movement. This is actually quite handy technology because they become basically long lasting and you won't have to worry about battery life. And of course I like this small touch in a form of sub hand in yellow color because it adds a bit more color here, even though these writings, as you can see, tough, solar and Bluetooth, they are also finished in color, somewhat looking not that good in my opinion. Even though this is a G-Shock, it doesn't pretend to be expensive watch, but still it would be good to have it in a gray color just like the G-Shock and Casio logo on the top. But again, the G-Shocks are also quite prominent for their amount of the writings on the dial, so this one is not different. And some owners actually like such styling. I think it does not influence the overall legibility, so it's alright. And by the way, we have also small indices between these large ones, and the large ones are applied on the dial, so that also creates the nice multi-level design of this dial. Here we can move to the casing of this watch, and I would say it's exactly the same as what we had in the initial release. As you can see, the thickness is the same, the dial and the case size is exactly the same, and we have the steel case back again on both models, initial one and the later one. Nevertheless, there are minor differences. This one is 1 gram heavier, and also we get the Bluetooth connection, but this is more related to the movement inside, and we will talk about it a bit later. And I have to mention that the thickness of this watch is 11.9 millimeters, so it's not that thick as you can see, and we have the case with nice protection for the buttons. Buttons are stainless steel again, just like on the original release. And as you can see, I was wearing this watch for quite a time, and still these buttons look clear and crisp. There are no scratches as far as you can see, so they're more or less alright. And the plastic itself also endures nicely the everyday use, so I guess this one will not be different. Maybe the only thing which might be different is these black writings, because here, as you can see, they are just engraved and not filled with the paint. But somewhat interesting is that here we also have mineral glass, and as you can see, you might have noticed that there are no scratches at all, even though I was not treating these watches carefully. So with this one I also spent several weeks, and as you can see, it's still like new. Water protection here is 200 meters, that's why we have stainless steel case back on the screws on 4 sides, by the way, and inside we have also carbon core guard. It was also used in the initial watch, so that's why it is quite shock resistant, which is, I would say, somewhat trademark feature of the G-Shock. As I said, this watch packs the solar movement, so here we have the 5689 caliber, and we have here a 7-month power reserve for everyday use and when you have access to the daylight, and it should also work up to 18 months if you leave it in the box, but I would not recommend doing so because it's better when such movements are getting at least some sun time during storage, because it will benefit the overall durability of this movement. Nevertheless, Casio claims that it should survive 7 to 10 years of use, so it's definitely better than a typical battery, and I guess you will get the next model quicker than this movement will expire. Another notable feature of the new caliber is that we have Bluetooth connectivity. You can connect it to the phone, and then you have all the necessary features which are synchronized with the phone. Nevertheless, here we have all traditional features for digital G-Shock, and it means that at least you will get the wall time, stop timer, also the alarm, and some other features which will be handy in everyday use. What I do not like that much is that the strap is integrated, even though here inside we have a quick release, but still you will have a hard time finding a right strap which will fit this style, and that's why you will be mostly bound to this stock strap. Even though if I put it on my hand, As you can see, it's easy to strap it on your wrist and it sits nicely. It's quite flexible plastic, so there is no issue at all. And I think it will survive everyday wear and tear, and you can get some aftermarket from Casio without any issues. I saw some custom configs with the textile belts here on this initial release, and I have to say that it looks somewhat strange, so I would not go this way unless you get the black or green or any other dark colored watch. As you can see, with the bright colored watches it will not work perfectly and it might actually damage the overall look of this watch. And again, that's the question if you care at all how this watch will look, because as you can see, now we get a really nice unified bright yellow colored combo. And here I think we can move to the everyday use experience, because as I said, I got to spend 2 weeks after I bought this watch and I have something to share about it. So first thing first is the comfort of use. As I said, I like the strap, I liked it also on initial release, so nothing changed here. The same goes with the size. As you can see, it nicely sits on my wrist. I have 18 centimeters wrist and it's no problem at all. It's also not that thick. In my opinion, 11.9 millimeters thickness is not an issue and you can easily hide it under the sleeve. And the legibility of this dial is noticeably improved, because I'm kinda used to what I had on this red watch. I know that initial release also had some, let's say, high visibility versions. Nevertheless, I got this one, and here it was nice to experience a slight change. I didn't want to get exactly the same config as this one, I mean the indices in the same color as the casing. And here, as you can see, we have a quite nice change which makes this watch slightly different from what I have in the initial release. What I also like is the quite clear display, so if you need to check the date of week or the seconds counter, it will be there, and it's quite bright, so it's visible on the daylight as well. What I do not like is the night at time experience. As I was saying before, we have the luminescent layer applied only on the hands, and we do not have it applied on the indices, so it creates quite a strange effect when you see the hands in dark but you do not see indices and you have to guess the time. And yes, the G-Shock actually has the light button here, and the same goes here on the new version. Nevertheless, if you press this light button, it's not that bright. We still have one LED in the corner, and frankly speaking, it looks kinda weird, and I would rather have it in a bit more unified way, so that whole dial will be light up. Nevertheless, it's still better than nothing, and it kinda saves the overall configuration in the dark time. As I said, the yellow color comes at extra, so that's also something to consider. As you can see, it's quite bright, and frankly speaking, I think they guessed the right shade with this watch, because it doesn't look too much of a toy, because they had a bit deeper yellow colors and those were almost like a Lego. This one looks, I would say, interesting, because it's not too bright but it's not too dull, and in real life it's quite unusual combination. As you can see, this one was also unusual color, full red, and in my opinion it still looks great. And the same, I think, will go with this one. Nevertheless, quite cool touch is that they made the accessories for the strap in black color, so it kinda adds a touch of different color. And the same goes for the dial, because here we get the dark dial, and the metal accessories, these buttons, screws, and some other things from the case side. I think it's also a nice touch which was present on the initial watch and they preserved it here. I wonder how it will be solved in the metal release, because there should be a full metal watch which will be completely different, and it should be a bit more premium in comparison with what we have here. So now we can move to the price of this series and let's discuss it. So first of all, I would like to start with the basic 4 versions of this watch, which are coming in a bit darker color shade. It's a black, blue and green. These are quite interesting covers, but the dial which is made in the same cover kinda did not work for me, but the pricing is set at $150 US, so it might be attractive for some of the future owners, while the yellow watch comes at an extra and I got it for $180. In my opinion, it's a reasonable amount for a slightly different dial and also completely different color and the strap. Nevertheless, for some of the buyers it might not be enough to justify the extra in the price, and it's completely understandable. Frankly speaking, I was quite surprised when I saw such pricing at the first time, and Casio did not add anything extra in this model except of these color changes. So who knows, maybe we'll see the same pricing policy with the metal watches. I already heard some rumors and news that the golden version will be a bit more expensive, and this is quite interesting trend for these watches. Nevertheless, from other side you can get the full black version, completely recase it with a metal casing and get your own metal Casioak, but I wonder if there are any accessories already available for such reconfiguration of the watch. Overall, I'm glad that I got this upgrade. As you can see, I already have two of the same styling and I'm not regretting this purchase at all. In my opinion, this might be an interesting buy for those who already missed the first release, and in my opinion there is no point in getting first release while we have this watch on the market. It's a bit more advanced, it offers you more functions, better usability in everyday use because you can synchronize it with your phone, you can also get the solar charging, and that simplifies the overall experience from getting this watch. While all the other stuff stays the same, so just for a bit of an extra you get a lot of interesting stuff inside, and you can get it already in all 5 versions, for example in Helvetia webshop where I got this watch. And of course I will be happy to hear your opinion about such release. Do not forget to write it here in the comment section below, and if you like this video, press the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also share this video so that more people know about this watch. And of course I will be happy to see you in the next video as usual. Stay tuned and thank you for joining today. Bye. And by the way, there is one more thing to mention, because I was saying in the review that we have the Bluetooth connectivity here. It is in the watch, but somehow it is interesting that I'm using iPhone and I have this G-Shock connectivity for my G-Square, and here this watch does not connect because I do not have it in the watch list in the app. So I guess it's a matter of upgrade, but it's quite interesting that this watch is out on the market for some time and still the app was not upgraded, so basically you won't be able to synchronize it properly with the phone, but who knows, maybe they will finally update it. Just wanted to warn you so that you know and you won't be surprised.